Hello everyone and welcome back to a basic cards deck building guide series I've been going through. And at this point in time we'll be looking at the Hunter. And the Hunter is an interesting class in my point of view, but more on that later. I guess maybe one day I'll do a Hunter video, but today we'll be looking at what I think would be the best basic cards to use in a Hunter deck if you only have basic cards. Like I've said before, this is probably going to be good for people starting the game. If you've had the game for a long time, chances are you already have the cards that you want for the deck you want to play. But still, feel free to stay and watch. Like if you learn something. Feel free to dislike if you learned nothing. And all in all, please share the video as well to all other people you think would be new to the game. So let's get straight to it. If you see the Hunter's mana curve, it peaks off at 3. It's a steep rising mana curve up till 3, then it drops instantly after that. One thing you have to consider about the Hunter is that the Hunter is really good at early game pressure. The Hunter can win the early game very easily if the opponent does not have ways in which to counter the rush down being put by the Hunter, or a decent sort of AoE after 4, 5, 6 and 7 mana. So if you don't fill out those two roles, then chances are the early game will be lost to you, and due to this the Hunter will just keep on using his steady shot ability to work you down with his minions until the end of the late game, in which you will lose. But the Hunter's at its most strongest with his 3 mana cards. So let's take a look at the cards themselves. First card is Arcane Shot, and it's a simple 1 mana cost card which deals 2 damage. This card is extremely effective in the early game, like we said, early game class. And it's effective because you can easily clear any minion on the board that has 2 or less hit points. And really it's good as if you get 2 for 2 mana, you could deal 4 damage, which could even clear some of the bigger 3 mana minions or some 4 mana minions, which is always good. Timberwolf, you're gonna have 2 of these as well, is a 1 mana 1/1 card, and it's got an ability where it says your other beasts have +1 attack. The Timberwolf is the card that will begin your rush down, as it buffs all your other beasts, because you're gonna have a lot of beasts in your deck, and it will buff all of them by giving them an extra 1 damage, which can really put some pace into your rush down. On its own, the Timberwolf is very weak. As you can see, it only has 1 hit point and 1 attack, so it's a very weak card on its own. So you'd like to hold onto this card maybe up until turn 4, turn 5, when you've established quite a number of beasts on the board already, and hopefully have some board control. Then you can play your Timberwolves to buff all the beasts that are currently on the board. Like I said, Fan Raptor, same as Swamp Ooze, are really good. Really good stats. It's 2 damage for 2 mana, and it's got 2 hit points. It's a must, and it's a beast, so it will get buffed by the Timberwolf. Another card is the Bluegill Warrior. The reason why I would prefer Bluegill Warriors as to, like for example, Swamp Ooze, is because Bluegill Warriors come with charge. And though they may not benefit from Timberwolves, it's always good to have some sort of charge in a rushdown deck. And for those of you who don't know what charge is, it means that when you play the card, it can instantly attack, so you can clear the board easily with these Bluegill Warriors. The next card we would like is the River Crocodile. So you may ask yourself, why would we want River Crocodile instead of, let's just say, that instead of Swamp Ooze or Bloodsail Raider or Cobalt Geomancer, for example, for a 2 mana card. The thing is, the River Crocodile is not usually picked up, but here it's picked up because the Timberwolf will give it 1 damage. And if you play 2 Timberwolves, that will be +2 damage. And this 2 mana card will all of a sudden become 4 damage and 3 hit points, which is very good. And since it's one of the few 2 mana cards which are basic cards which have 3 hit points, it can really take a beating, and it can carry you into that mid game as the Hunter if you can get both of them maybe onto the board with some Timberwolves. So it's a really good card in this case. Next card is the Starving Buzzard. a starving Buzzard, whatever. And it says whenever you summon a beast, draw a card. This is good, as I've been saying, draw power is very strong in this game. If you have more cards in your hand, that means you have more options to deal with your opponent. So if you believe that your opponent is reading into your actions and can see that you're trying to rush them down in the early game, if you can find a way of protecting the starving Buzzard, maybe playing it with the taunt card. If you have a taunt card in your deck, you could play the starving Buzzard and then play 2 other beasts, maybe like play 2 other river crocodiles after that, and then you get to draw 2 cards from 1 card, which could give you the advantage and snowball you further in your rush down. Animal Companion is a simple one. It summons a random beast companion. It can be anything. Any beast companion that the card will give you, and it will come with its specific stats, and it's very random. So it's a good card because it's a beast companion, and all beasts benefit from Timberwolves and starving Buzzards. So it's really good. Kill Command is a definite confirm in any hunter deck, as it deals 3 damage, and if you have a beast, it deals 5 damage instead. So, for example, if the enemy player has, let's see, if the enemy player, for example, has a Whirlwind Yeti on the board, if I only have just 1 Timberwolf on the board, just 1 Timberwolf at all, Kill Command will do 5 damage in one-shot Whirlwind Yeti. That's a really, really good, it's a good removal card. Not fully removal, as if the minion has more HP, it will still remain, but it does a lot of damage, and it can be comboed with very nicely. And it's only 3 mana, so 3 mana for 5 damage if comboed is really good. Rays of Fen Hunters are really good in this hunter deck as well, as I've talked to you guys about the Rays of Fen Hunter before. It summons a 1/1 boar. That 1/1 boar is a beast, and all beasts benefit from Timberwolf and starving Buzzard, so you could use that to buff the boar. So you could play Rays of Fen Hunter, you could play 2 of them and the Timberwolf, for example, to buff the boars. Then you'll have 2/2/2 minions on the board, plus 2 Rays of Fen Hunters and the Timberwolf. So that would be really powerful if you want to rush them down. Shattered Sun Clerics, like I said, they're given in any basic deck, as they can buff other minions, but played on their own, they're relatively bad cards. But you can still experiment with them. Wolf Riders, 2 of these, because it's guaranteed 3 damage on the board, whether the enemy likes it or not. As these minions have charge and can attack on the turn when they're played, and they have 3 damage, which is relatively good. If we were to look at Whirlwind Yeti's stats again, he's 4/5. So if you could play a Wolf Rider and then finish it off with maybe a Bluegill Warrior, you could kill Whirlwind Yeti. 2 cards, 2 low cost cards for one relatively middle cost card, which is a good trade. Multi-Shot is a good AoE spell for the hunter. It deals 3 damage to 2 random enemies, and this will most certain than not kill off most of the enemies' minions, as most minions 3 mana or less usually have 2 or 3 hit points anyway, so there are very few that have like 4 that cost 3 mana or less. So that's the use of multi-shots. Good AoE to have. It will always save you in certain situations whereby you face someone who's also trying to rush you down. You could turn the tides of the multi-shot. And if you have enough mana, actually, you could do something like you could play a beast and then play multi-shot and play Kill Command, which could potentially kill 3 minions on the board instantly, but it costs that combo would cost about 7 mana plus the Timberwolf. That would be 8 mana, so that would be a late game kind of board removal combo. Now the card that really makes the hunter who he is this card, and this card is Hound Master. And what Hound Master does is that it gives a friendly beast 2/2 plus taunt, which is really good. You could really buff any, for example, if you had a River Crocodile, it would go from being a 2/3, it will end up becoming a 4/5 with taunt, and this would really get you board control, as you'll have a high HP, high damage taunt minion all of a sudden on the board with this Hound Master. Or you could give it to other cards as well. Like, let me look for another example. You can see this Oasis Snapjaw. you could potentially trade out. You could put in Oasis Snapjaw into your deck and replace one of the cards you think isn't working for you. And then with Hound Master, all of a sudden Oasis Snapjaw from being a 2/7 can become a 4/9 taunt monster, which is really, really good. The next card we'll be looking at is the Tundra Rhino. And this is a very powerful card because when you play it, all your beasts have charge. This is what you'll transition with into your late game. As if you establish board control, maybe you've got 4 beasts on the board. All of a sudden, let's look at a situation like this then. You've got 2 Crocodiles on the board, and you've got 2 Fan Raptors on the board, right? All in a certain situation, let's just say that is. And then you play a Timberwolf. All of a sudden, you've got 4 damage Raptors. You've got 2 4 damage Raptors and 2 3 damage River Crocodiles, right? And then all of a sudden you play Timberwolf, and instantly on that turn you've got charge. That would be 8 damage plus 6 damage, which is 14 damage all of a sudden in one turn. You could use that to clear the board, or you could use it to deal damage directly to the enemy hero's face. Follow that up with your hero ability, which is Steady Shot, which would add an additional 2 more damage to that, which is really big. It could be a good play. That's why I was saying Hound Master and Tundra Rhino are really good in most Hunter basic decks. And the last card we'll be looking at is the Reckless Rocketeer. It's a 5/2 with charge. You could use the Shattered Sun Cleric to buff it to become a 6/3 with charge. And really this card becomes formidable as it's instant 5 damage on the board. There's nothing your enemy can do against it. Unless maybe, for example, they played a taunt card which they were willing to sacrifice in the beginning before you played the Reckless Rocketeer. Then you'd have to find a way to remove the taunt before you play Reckless Rocketeer. But it is a good card, 5/2 with charge. So pretty much those are my points of view on the best basic Hunter deck. You can try this deck out and feel free to change whatever you think needs changing, but I think this would be a good template for you to start with playing Hunter builds. Thank you and check you out.